Hi, guys. Welcome to Beyond the Edit. I am Shakila, and I want to first start by saying thank you so much for joining me on my very first episode of Beyond the Edit. This particular episode is very special and dear to me as I am celebrating the 10th year of my late husband's passing, and I want to share what I would like to feel or express as a love letter from the past, the lessons that I've learned in this 10 years, and also to share how we can possibly view grief in a different way. And so that's what I look to share with you guys on today. And so, again, thank you, thank you, thank you for joining me. I'd like to dive right on in and share a little bit about Freddie since this episode is dedicated to him. To begin, he and I were together for 18 years, married for about four, and we were 19 years apart. Correct, you heard me. We were 19 years apart. And what I like to reflect on is the wonderful 18 years that he gave me and my family and our family. And I want to, number one, let me say this, by no means was our marriage perfect, uh, but it was real. It was one of the greatest gifts that I've had outside of being a mother, and I find it to be one of the biggest gifts that I have. In those 10 years that he's been gone, he is still teaching me each and every day. And I think that's the biggest lesson that I want to share as well, on how grief can be a catalyst to help us live more fully in the present and to find joy and power in the now, if that makes sense, and to reflect on all of the lessons that we've received to those that have gone on, right? And so I'll start by saying Freddie and I met working together. For those who remember Winn-Dixie, we were both managers there. And Fred used to come up to the front where I managed, and he would be, so serious and frowned up sometimes. And one day I just had the courage to say, hey, may I speak with you? Do me a favor. When you come up front, please just try to smile when you're interacting with my cashiers. Uh, do me that favor. And so he just gave me this look like, first of all, who's this? I want to say little girl. Who is this young woman talking to me like this, right? And so we had a conversation, and then we went back to our departments, and we moved on. Later on in the day, a good mutual friend at the time, whose name was Juan, pulled me aside and said, "Hey, Shakila, don't be so hard on Freddie. He's going through a lot right now." And I had no idea of what that meant. And so we fast forward. I'm outside that day on lunch, and guess who comes out? He comes out to actually smoke a cigarette. And I was like, you coming outside smoking a cigarette? Like, I'm on a phone. And I was a mess. I sure was. And that day it was raining. And I remember I had to catch the bus. And he offered to take me home. And I said, well, you said you live in Broward. I live in Dade. That's a pretty far distance. And he said, no, it's not a problem. I'll take you home. And he did. We sat outside and we talked for 3 hours. And I promise you, that was the start of our 18-year journey. And I share that story because sometimes you'll meet people in some of the oddest ways, and something beautiful comes out of it. And so that's how Fred and I met. And over these last 10 years, when I reflect on all that we've shared, I want to first pause and say it was an honor to watch my late husband's breath become air. And I was able to live out the words, "To death do us part." I believe outside of love, to be able to do that when it's a part of the vow and you honor that vow, right? Uh, it was remarkable. It was a very sad occasion, but as I look back, I was afforded a wonderful, wonderful gift, and I'm so appreciative for that opportunity. Um, just please, guys, bear with me because I have so much going through my head that I want to share, and I want to try to stay on track to the best of my ability, right? Um, Freddie was a guy of patience and his love. Ooh, honey. Again, we weren't perfect, but the love and the commitment, the dedication, I've never seen anything like it. Uh, I wish every woman can experience that, that love that you can't put into words, the one you can't really describe. You can only feel it, and you feel it so deeply that you want everyone else to feel it. That's what we had. And I looked through our struggle times, and again, I was 19 years younger, and I was so mature in certain areas and so lacked a great deal of maturity in others. And one thing I loved about Fred, he was so patient. He never judged me. He always encouraged me. Everything. When I say, if you knew him, anyone that knows him can attest. Anything that I did or attempted to do, he was there. He would build the things that I needed if he could. And it's just a wonderful gift. And so now I get to reflect on all of these wonderful things that I experienced and look forward to sharing it with the world, because one of my biggest things that I share uh, is I would rather a person had not been born to be on this beautiful universe and not experience real love. It's a gift that I had. It's a gift that still exudes and grows and blooms in me. And it's a, a loving dedication to Fred for what he has shown me, even in his absence. And I am honored to share it with anyone that I come across. And I recall having a conversation with a good friend of mine. I'll call him G for now. And we were in his kitchen and we were having some really just deep conversations. And he paused and he said to me, he said, "Shakila, there are millions of people in this world, actually billions." And he said, "Very few people I know have experienced the type of love you're describing to me in this kitchen." And he said, "I happen to be one of them." And that just really touched me. And he said, "When you write your second book, it needs to be titled Life After Fred." So I think I'll have to work on that at some point. Um, so basically, today's conversation is me wanting to encourage those of you who have experienced grief and still are trying to navigate the journey. It is also to encourage and inspire those who may actively be experiencing grief. And what we know is that at some point we all will. And I would like to say, as we uh, talk a little bit about this love letter to the past, right, to Freddie, and We share a little bit of the lessons that I learned in the 10 years. We also really revisit, the way we see grief. I don't see it as something that comes to break us, like most people would say. What if it came to crack us open and to ignite a flame and let all of that greatness and life and love, all that we have gathered through our time with our loved ones, what if that was the channel to help us live life more fully and to love harder and all of these are things that I actually practice, by the way, to just be this embodiment of love and to turn that pain into love and really celebrate what we deem as loss. Now, was it an easy journey? Absolutely damn not. No. uh, is it a doable journey? Yes, it is. And um, that's my goal for this conversation, is to at least give you a sense of hope, because I am someone who has walked through the fire of loss and can honestly say I came out on the other side. And I'm in a space now where I tell people I no longer like dip my toe in the spring of life, baby. I do a whole swan dive in, knowing exactly where I land is where I'm supposed to be. And if we can find the courage, right, day by day, because it's day by day, sometimes it's moment by moment, uh, we get there, right? And it takes the phases of grief. I love that they added a new one, and that is meaning. So now we can find meaning in grief. What if we did that? Like, what if we really sat and said, hey, what is grief teaching me about me? What is grief teaching me about life? What is it teaching me about love? And for the time that we have left, those of us that have lost our spouses, how do we want to show up in the world again? And that doesn't have to be a decision or an answer that you know immediately, but I think it's one that you need to keep in the back of the mind. What is it that I really want? Like, you still have life, and life is, it's beautiful when we can take all of what we deem as the pain of our grief and use it as seeds to plant a new garden, right? And so that's my encouragement. And so, more about grief. I also wanted to speak a little bit about the modern grief. And I don't know if you guys are like me, where it's that silent grief that we're missing. Let's say for me, it's the big mamas, right? It's where we used to go to get some real wisdom. It's the grief when love was real, when it wasn't transactional, right? When it wasn't a swipe left or swipe right. It wasn't dictated on what people were doing on social media. When love was real, and we honored those marriages. And then the big mamas, baby. I recently lost my mom in July of 24, and so it's a new form of grief, right? And then it's a new journey. And so I hear her words pierce me, especially when I'm in like a challenging moment, because I still do have those. I can hear her, cut it out, cut that shit out. You be about your business 10 toes down. That's who that woman is, and was and is to me still. And uh, later, some further down the line segments, I am going to do one titled Who Raised You? I think it's important for you guys to know a little bit about me and why my morals and values are a certain way, based on the parents that I had. My dad's 88 and he lives with me, and he is still kicking. Okay. So, yeah, so I'll definitely do a segment on that. But back to grief. Um, what about we're the most technological era, but we're the most disconnected? I think we're grieving that when connections were real, when communication and friendships were real. And so I want to know, what can we do collaboratively to close that gap? What can we do to get back to a time where we picked up the phone, and checked on our friends or our loved ones? We didn't rely on Facebook. And I know we're in a busy time, right? However, there's a way that we can do this and foster relationships, and bring back that sense of community where we're not so disconnected, because research says this is the loneliest people have been, I'm almost going to say, since the history of mankind. Yet, with all of these technological advances, we're the most lonely and disconnected people. And so, this channel is hopefully, right, part of closing the gap in that. I want to have more real, raw conversations on some of the things that we don't talk about on mainstream media. And so, right now, I would like to ask you, if you have received some beneficial information thus far, if you would like, subscribe, and or share this message with someone who you feel would benefit from it. Um, I just Today was just a day of reflection. I don't have anything written or, you know, a direct message today. I just really wanted to take time out to honor the 10 years, and just share with you that from year one to year 10, even year one to year three, there's just this there's just this growth season, because I'm like, you can grow in grief, right? If you open yourself to it. And I remember so many asking me, hey, Shakila, how are you doing this? You're handling this so gracefully. It wasn't even about the grace, it was about the love, the power of love, and wanting to give and share and express that love with other people. And that is what fueled me. It's what gave me fuel. It's like, I wanted to take grief and make it fuel, to allow me to get to this space, to be able to share and discuss grief, and how can we change the concept of grief where it doesn't have to be something so negative, that we can channel that into a new way and create a community for that. And so that was my hope for today. And I hope that I did do that for you guys. And I promise I'll be back soon. And we'll dive into some more deeper conversations. In the meantime, please know that I love you and I thank you for taking some time out to spend with me as I spoke a little bit about Mr. Fred on today. I'm sure I'll do some more segments just on love, and all that I've learned, and the most powerful gift that it is, especially when we're able to share it with each other. So until next time, guys, thank you. Y'all have a wonderful one.